Hello everybody, I'm Cantonese Cat. Hey everybody, Cantonese Cat here. I want to go through a few stocks, NVIDIA, Palantir, and Tesla. I'm not going to spend too much time. I'm just going to give you like an overall view in terms of what I think. First of all, NVIDIA looks like it was a great opportunity in 2022, especially around Q3, Q4 2022. I think Palantir was a great opportunity around the first quarter, maybe a little bit early second quarter of 2023 as well. So 2022, I think, is the year of NVIDIA. 2023, I think, is the year of Palantir. And what is going to be the year of 2024, I think it's going to be the year of Tesla, because it looks like there's a lot of really, really nice repair in terms of the technicals here. I do want to go through a little bit in terms of each stock. I think that if I have to summarize NVIDIA in terms of what it's doing, I think it does look like there are a few indicators telling us that it's overextended. But because things are looking so bullish, it can continue to stay overextended for longer than you think. And it also, because things are also looking a little bit overextended, there's also potential the price kind of go sideways a little bit, maybe for another couple of months before going up even higher. And you might end up having a little bit of rotation away from NVIDIA to other things for another month or two. Right? That's kind of my thoughts on NVIDIA. Now I'm going to show you in terms of what I think, in terms of why I think that's going to happen. First of all, if you look at the Ichimoku cloud, which give you these lines over here. The blue line over here is called a Tenkin. The red line over here is called a Kitchen. Generally in a bull market, I'm going to put up this previous bull market here from like 2025, 2024, sorry, 2015, 2014, all the way to around like 2018, right? This is a very, very nice bull market, and you can see that during the entire bull market, the blue line, the Tenkin, has just been serving as support. Sometimes it backtests the red line, but rarely. And it just keeps on pushing the price up higher and higher and higher over time, right? This bull market really lasts for about like 5 years or so. And you can see that each time when price just simply got a little bit way too far extended away from the Tenkin, price can go sideways and even correct through time as well as through price, right? Same here, a little bit too far above, back test down here, not just at the Tenkin, but also at the Kitchen over here. Price went a little bit too far above, waiting for the Tenkin to catch up, went sideways for a month. Price went too far, sideways for a month, right? Over here, this is a little bit of an anomaly. I think this is a very much of a parabolic bull trend that is a little bit crazy and irrational, and it just kept on going up, 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 up until here. Finally, it went way too far, way too fast, correct sideways for about 5-6 months before going up further, and that's when you really truly have a trend exhaustion here on this monthly chart in NVIDIA, right? So fast forward, same thing. Over the last cycle, you have this sideways trend over here for about months number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 months before price even go higher to get exhausted eventually, right? So because price just got way too far away from the Tenkin, right? So over here, you can see that the cycle already had something like that happen and went sideways for about 6 months, even corrected back through price as well as through time before going up further, right? And over here, you see we got way overextended, and we basically have another hammer candle over here, back test with a wick to get a little bit closer to the Tenkin. But right now, we have the same conundrum. We're basically way outside the Tenkin, and we're having a little bit of a hard time trying to break above it. Could it be one of those times where it just keeps on going up like crazy and don't care? You know, you have a period of about half a year where NVIDIA just keeps on going beast mode and don't really care about finding support or getting back tests to the Tenkin here. Could this be what's happening, or could it be one of those times where we're just going to go sideways here for months, maybe for a month or 2 or 3, wait for the Tenkin to kind of catch up eventually before going up higher, right? Whales certainly look like they're in. It certainly looks like the whales are not ready to leave yet. So I would not be surprised if things end up going a little bit crazy, a little bit overextended for longer, but it is overextended. I just wanted to show you that. Now, that was more from the perspective of the Ichimoku cloud, right? Let's look at the bull in Japan. Now, looking at the bull in Japan, we've been overextended for the last 2 months, and that's why price had a hard time going up higher, because it was just way outside the upper bull in Japan, right? It's waiting for a bull in Japan to expand. Right now, the bull in Japan continues to expand, and the expansion is important because it allows price to go up higher. And for the month of July, we have the first day of trading day. So far, price kind of trying to just get underneath the upper bull in Japan, but it's just so impulsive. Like right now, price end up closing today on this monthly candle here above the upper Bollinger Band here again, but there's a potential for the upper Bollinger Band to serve a little bit as a magnet to kind of let the price go sideways here a little bit while it's waiting for the Tenkan down here to kind of catch up a little bit more, right? You can also look into EMA ribbon. EMA ribbon, again, same thing, right? If it gets a little bit too overextended, generally price like to kind of correct sideways, and we just seem to be like overextended for a long time. But again, if this is a parabolic bull trend, it can stay away from the EMA ribbon for a very, very long time, like it did over here from 2016 all the way to 2018. It didn't even really get close to that either, right? So I do think that right now we're having a very much of a parabolic bull trend, and I do think that we're hitting a little bit of resistance, which is going to be at the Fibonacci levels over here. I do think that, over here we went sideways for 6 months because it's trying to break about the 1.618 Fibonacci extension level. And over here went sideways because it got rejected here at 3.618, Fibonacci extension levels. These are generally pretty important levels. And right now we'll also kind of get rejected here at the 4.764 Fibonacci level around 124. We just have a hard time kind of break above of it. And it looks like last one we back tested the 4.236 and found support. It looks like it wants to go higher, but there's a little bit of resistance here for Fibonacci. There's a little bit of resistance here at the Bollinger Band, and simply price just a little bit way too far away from the EMA ribbon, and also it's just a little bit too far away from the Tenkan down underneath here, right? So I don't know. I mean, like, there's always a chance for it to overextend, kind of like it did over here. But most likely probability it might end up going sideways. A lot of money kind of rotate out a little bit to go at our stocks. That's kind of how I view Nvidia. There's no reason for me to be scared. I still have exposure to semiconductors, a little bit of a like a leverage position for the semiconductor sector, which Nvidia is going to be the most higher exposure. So I'm probably just going to leave it. I'm not going to play around with it, try and trade in and out. I also don't think this bull market is over yet. The reason why is because generally when the Bollinger Band, the lower Bollinger Band expands all the way down like that, and it just looks like it just wants to continue to expand. Whenever it does that, like, that's nowhere near the exhaustive trend. Just kind of like over here, in Bollinger Band on this cycle around 2015, 2016, when it goes all the way down here, the bull trend didn't really exhaust until whenever the Bollinger Band ends up coming from the ground all the way up here. That's when you start to have a little bit of an exhaustion over here, right? We're not really seeing any sign of exhaustion. I feel comfortable just holding this longer term swing trade for another potentially even like 12 to 18 months or so. I feel like it's going to end up keep going higher. It would not surprise me if it hits 200, 300, 400 range, or even 500 range by the end of the cycle. And the one thing that I would be watching out for, I don't really necessarily care about the exact level, but I'm going to look into whether or not the Bollinger Band comes back. And that's usually when I start to get a little bit more scared, because it looks like the trend is starting to exhaust a little bit whenever you start to have a little bit of a Bollinger Band contraction, right? Now, that is Nvidia. I do want to talk about my second stock here, which is Palantir. Palantir is a little bit of a different beast. Palantir, if you look at the chart, I'm going to turn off the GAN here for a second. You look at the chart, it is clearly forming a very, very nice formation, like a rising 3 kind of formation, where there's a big giant green candle on huge volume with big whalish momentum going up, and then you give the bears 3 months to try and bring the price down. They're not able to. Bulls sniff out weakness and just have like a bullish engulfing candle that engulfs the last 3 months, right? So this is a very, very bullish formation, incredibly bullish formation. Where's price going to end up gravitating to? It's probably going to gravitate to the upper Bollinger Band here, which is around $29 right now. And I think there's a potential chance for it to kind of get close to there. Now, 25 to 27 range is going to be a pretty important resistance zone, right? Because price has really spent a whole year over here around late 2020, 2021. So this has been a very important resistance zone over here. As you can see, we have a hard time kind of breaking above it. It needed to build up like a very nice bull flag, build some energy before challenging it again, right? And I think that right now whales continue to come in, and I think they want to challenge it. It's not really overextended. It wants to get overextended, but it's not overextended at all based on looking at the monthly chart over here, right? And also if you look at the Ichimoku cloud, you can also see that it is not overextended. It just backtested the Tenkan over here perfectly 3 months in a row, finding support. It looks like it wants to bounce above. And I really don't think that is overextended much. I think that over the next couple of months or so, the Tenkan is going to end up going up anyway, and that price will continue to go up and hopefully break about this range over here around 25, 27 range. And once you get through that, you're talking about the 30s. And once you get through that, challenge all-time high, and it's going to go a lot higher. I'm going to show you a couple other things here in terms of the weekly chart. I think that might be a little bit more tailing. I'm going to turn off the Ichimoku cloud because it's above the Tenkan Kijun. So this is also the EMA ribbon. The EMA ribbon looks very, very thick, looks very up pointing, and we've just been bouncing off the EMA ribbon and keep going up higher. All of this looks very bullish, right? Whales are in. There's not much retail for MCDX Plus. And if you also look at Bollinger Band, it looks like we're squeezing pretty hard. It looks like there might be a bigger move that's going to come. I think the bigger move, whenever it comes, is going to end up going up, right? We don't look overextended here on the monthly Bollinger Band, nor do we look overextended over here on the weekly Bollinger Band. So far, everything looks very, very nice, right? So I think that there's a potential for Palantir, and once it breaks above the 27 zone here, I think there's a potential for it to go up a lot higher. And there's also a couple things here too. I'm going to pull up the anchored volume profile, look at the volume shelf ever since its DPO. You can see that the volume shelf is really strong around like 27. Once it breaks about 27, you might get up to around like low 30s, somewhere around there. That would probably be the next zone that it would go to, and that would also be the 0.618 Fibonacci level, which is the golden ratio compared to the previous all-time high to the all-time low. So I think that there are some signs here that are getting me thinking that, hey, even if we break out of the zone over here, it might still hit a little bit of resistance around 30. But then above that, I think it's kind of all air here in the volume shelf, and there's a potential for price to kind of go up a lot higher. If you look at the Fibonacci level, we are able to successfully break above the 0.5 Fibonacci level so far, right? For the month of July, for the first week, which is 1 day of price action so far, we're breaking above. Is this just going to be a wick, kind of like the wick, the candle over here? I don't know, but I like the fact that it's trying. I like the fact that it's going up, and also like the fact that the Bollinger Band looks like it's squeezing and allowing price to potentially go up to hit the 30 range, right? So far looking so good. Once you hit 30, you might hit some of the arcs up here, and that could be a little bit of resistance down here at the low to mid 30s. And then after that, I really think that it could potentially go up a lot higher over time, maybe some of these arcs over here. And I'll have some other targets later. And I really think that Palantir is probably going to end up hitting anywhere from like 70 to 100, 110 over the next 3 to 5 years. I think it's going to take time to do that. But the fact that it's doing like all these higher highs and higher lows, it's just looking like a very, very nice bull trend. And the whales continue to be in really since about like a year and a half ago. It's a very, very nice chart. I think it's not overextended. So there's a lot further room for it to potentially keep going up. It just looks very, very grounded. And the parabolic bull move, besides this one over here from the single digits already to the teens, the parabolic bull move for this potential bull market may not have happened quite just yet. So that's kind of how I feel about Palantir. Finally, I want to talk about Tesla. The good thing about Tesla is that there's a lot of technical damage previously that have been really trying to get fixed. And if you just look at some of the indicators over here, I'm going to do it from a very, very micro view here. You have a very, very nice, kind of like an inverted head and shoulder move to it. I still think that around 200 is probably going to be a pretty strong resistance zone. I'm not sure whether or not we're going to end up pushing it. Like the highest it might go before finding strong resistance is probably around like 220s, maybe right at 220. I'll show you why, before going down, right? But if you look at it, it forms a very, very nice kind of accumulation pattern. Whales are in on the daily like crazy. There's a lot of whalish momentum coming in. You look at a Bollinger Band, we're a little bit extended here on the daily. So maybe we're hitting some resistance zone. Maybe you can even keep pushing up to around 220. And the bigger correction is going to come potentially. But I think right now we might be a little bit overextended here on the daily chart. Regardless, looking at the Ichimoku cloud, it's broken above the daily cloud. It looks very impulsive in the short term, and the whales agree. Like this is actually a very, very good look in terms of longer trend, right? It just needs to form a higher low before going up higher, and where the higher low is going to be, my best guess is going to be around like the high 180s. It's going to be my best guess, right? But you can see that on the daily chart it's looking more bullish. On the weekly chart, there are a couple of things that also making it look more bullish too, right? Whales are coming in on the MCDX Plus. If I also look at Ichimoku, it looks like we're hitting some pretty strong resistance here, right? Maybe over the next couple of weeks we can even hit up to 220. but we might end up getting some pretty strong resistance here before going down. You can see how price really trying to spend the last couple of months staying above the tank in the blue line over here, and it's paid off. It really is changing the trend here on the weekly too. And then in addition to that, you also see the bull market support band has finally been reclaimed after price had kind of oscillated around the bull market support band underneath, and it really broke above the bull market support band finally. So it's not the end of the world for things to kind of get some resistance at the current zone, I mean a little bit higher around 220 before coming back down, maybe back test the bull market support band over here before going up further. That's probably my most likely scenario, my most favorite scenario, my most favorite scenario, I guess. But whales are in, right? So I think we probably just need a little bit of a higher low before going up further. You can also see a little bit of a bullish crossover here on the weekly too, which is fascinating. But I do think that we're a little bit overextended on the daily. Probably end up coming back down here a little bit. Even on the weekly here, we're a little bit overextended. We're a little bit over the upper Bollinger Band here on the weekly, right? So just something to think about. But all of this stuff that I'm showing you, it does look increasingly bullish, doesn't it? You look at a monthly chart now. Monthly chart is going to give you also a very, very nice picture here. This is something that is significant that has happened. You remember how price is kind of staying above this 20-month moving average for a very long time, but because it's negative sloping, it's just not able to use it as support, and eventually we broke down underneath of it. I thought this was going to end up like flattening, but it ended up, not being strong enough to serve as support because it's negative sloping. It just ended up plummeting down, right? End up finding some of the liquidity down underneath, and we end up having a very, very bullish demand candle with like a very nice wick underneath over here. And we finally broke back above the 20-month moving average. 20-month moving average so far for the month of July is actually curling up, right? Over here was 206.18. For the month of July so far on the first day is 206.94. This is higher than that. So you're actually having a positive trend here on the 20-month moving average. And this is usually a first step for any kind of recovery for a stock, is to challenge the 20-month moving average. And we might end up getting rejected here in July. We might end up getting rejected, might go down to like the 180s to back test some of these, breakout zone over here before the 20-month range continues to turn more and more flat before going up higher, right? But that's the first step. But I do think that we're getting close to a lot of resistance up here because we're finally challenging a lot of these longer term moving averages, and also we're challenging one thing here almost perfectly. And if you tell me that the Ichimoku cloud doesn't work, I'm just going to ignore you, because right now for the month of July, for the 1 day price action, price went all the way to the bottom of the monthly Ichimoku cloud, and it got rejected over there. The bottom of the monthly Ichimoku cloud is going to be right there, right? 213.15. Got rejected from it. How far did the price go? 213.23. Almost on the dollar, a little bit off, but almost on the dollar. We don't quite have the bullish Tenkan Kijun cross quite just yet. I think it might come over the next couple of months or so. If that comes, I think most likely it end up needing to come back down here around the 180s, dip around here maybe for another couple of months before pushing up higher. I think that some of my friends may expect to go down even a little bit further before going up, right? But I do think that's probably going to be my best guess. It might even wick inside the Ichimoku cloud here to like the 220 zone, or it could end up just getting rejected here around 213, and it just ended up going down from there before going up further to really challenge the Ichimoku cloud on monthly before going up higher. And that could take a couple of months still, right? If you also look at some of the other like drawing here, there is a pretty apparent trend line over here, and there's also a very important Fibonacci level here too, right? There's a potential around July or August we might end up hitting the 0.382 and getting rejected over there, because it does seem like it was some pretty important support and resistance level here in the past, right? But I do think that if price go up, I do think that 220 to 21 is probably going to be as high as it goes. If I'm wrong, I'd be very happy, because I've been really buying throughout this whole time slowly. When price is under 200, I've been just buying like every week. So if it ends up breaking above, great. If not, if it ends up coming back for further to back test the 180s, I'll be very happy. I'll keep buying. If it doesn't, if it breaks through all this and just becomes like shoot and go all the way up, which is entirely possible. I mean, this is Tesla, right? Like it can do whatever it wants to do. So if it ends up just breaking above the resistance zone and we just keep going up higher, great. But I think most likely it's going to end up getting rejected around like the 213 220 range, and also this diagonal resistance over here. And it's probably going to come back down, trying to find support before going up higher, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. I think that's pretty much all I have to say. Like, that Tesla is looking more and more bullish. You can also see that the 0.3236 has been a very, very important support level. Like, it closed just above that 4 months in a row. It tried to break below with these wick. The wick even went all the way down to the 0.136 and around 140s. And it got huge demand and just pushed all the way back up. The next thing you know, like basically anything that's lower than 0.236 has been proven to have a lot of demand. And once you find out, Tesla demand is going to go up higher until you find resistance. If I was a trader, I'd probably end up selling either here because it was the bottom of the monthly Ichimoku cloud, or I might end up selling up here around the 220, but I'm not a trader. So I'm just basically showing you what I'm seeing. I'm not really scared about any potential price action changes or anything like that. But yeah, I like the way that Tesla's looking. And I also, if you also just go back to the weekly chart, I'm going to turn off a lot of these kind of stuff over here too. If you also look at the EMA ribbon, it's also reclaiming the EMA ribbon, which is not surprising because it's also reclaiming the boomerang support band. It's really claiming a lot of different things, and it just looks like it wants to go higher, but before it does, it's just a little bit too overextended. It needs to come back down, back test before going up higher, and there's nothing wrong with that. So I really do think that 2024 may be the year for Tesla. I could be very wrong. If I'm wrong, that's okay. I think so far I'm not bearish on this chart, and I think both the Tesla tracker and the Great Masby myself really thought that around here and around the 140 is really going to be the bottom. So far it turned out to work out pretty well, and I also think that this whole downtrend over here was a lot of manipulation, and I've shown you this before, and that really gave me a lot more confidence to buy, because even though you have a lot of supposedly bearish volume candles, let me see here. Yeah, even the price has kind of gone down, the unbalanced volume actually is going up, for an entire year almost, right? Price go down, unbalanced volume up. This is a very, very nice bullish divergence. It tells me that there's a lot of buying momentum behind the scene, and whatever ends up, really under 300, and the whales just trying to buy as cheap as possible. So it's just been pushing the price down, and the unbalanced volume is up. So there's a lot of buying pressure right around the whole last year. So it looks like it's kind of playing out, but I do think we're a little bit overextended. So if it ends up correcting down, don't be scared. I'm probably going to end up, trying to buy more around the 180s range. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong, right? But that's kind of what I'm seeing so far. Anyway, thank you so much for listening to my video. Have a good one. Bye.